Sudan, where paramilitary forces and their allied militias are being accused of an ethnic cleansing campaign. A new Human Rights Watch report says that crimes against humanity were committed by rapid support forces in the city of El Geneina in West Darfur, targeting an ethnic group known as the Masalit and other non-Arab communities. According to the report, women and children make up the majority of those who've been killed and targeted. The RSF repeatedly attacking displaced person gathering sites, including a boarding school for girls. These alleged atrocities come 1 year since the start of the civil war in Sudan, where thousands have been killed and over 8 million have been displaced, creating the world's largest displacement crisis. Akshaya Kumar is the Director of Crisis Advocacy at Human Rights Watch, and she joins us now for more. Thanks so much for being here. This really is a staggering report. Please, for our audience, if you could tell us more about the Masalit people, the violence that Human Rights Watch says they've been subjected to, especially women and children.
Well, the Masalit community of West Darfur have been survivors of ethnic cleansing, not just in this conflict that our researcher team documented last year, but also are survivors of the well-known hostilities, the crimes against humanity, the crimes that led to charges of genocide against President Bashir back 20 years ago. So this is a community that was already displaced, that was already marginalized. And then come in June of last year, they became once again the target of the rapid support forces who came through the town of El Geneina and forcibly displaced people, chased them down, shot especially young men, but also older people and children, piled up children's bodies, shot people as they were fleeing and trying to cross a river, and targeted the Masalit community for their ethnicity, for the fact that they are of darker skin, that they're non-Arab. They use slurs against them, and they sought to push them off their land, which unfortunately they have done because El Geneina is largely deserted of the Masalit population now.
Really difficult to hear. The U.S. has found that these paramilitary groups responsible for committing war crimes since the conflict there began. But why hasn't there been more direct intervention, Akshaya?
Well, this is something we have been pushing for at the United Nations. And in fact, our report makes the clear call. And it's a call that we heard from Masalit survivors. We've heard from community-based organizations representing Darfuris, which is that no place is safe in Darfur right now, but really Sudan writ large. And so the international community must once again step in, as it did in the past 2 decades ago, and set up some kind of a presence to protect people, a mission either authorized by the United Nations or the African Union that would bring some safety and security, some sense, a semblance of safety for these people who have suffered so much. That's our ask. We've also asked that the individuals responsible, the commanders and those in charge of the rapid support forces face individual criminal sanctions and individual criminal accountability. But I think the most important thing right now is that the world realize that unfortunately, this carnage is not over. The rapid support forces are still marching, and in fact, right now have encircled another town in Darfur to the north, a town called El Fashir, where once again you have hundreds of thousands of people this time, many again who are from the non-Arab ethnic groups who have been displaced and sheltered there over the past few months, and really for years it was the only safe haven. And so it's not too late for the world to mobilize now for that community. Although El Geneina has been completely depopulated, we do have our eyes on what the rapid support forces could do next.
Well, and as people are hearing about this and the desperation, nearly 600,000 Masalit people have fled their homes for refugee camps in other countries like Chad. What does this humanitarian crisis look like for them? And what can people watching, listening do to help?
Well, the people who are living in Chad, and actually our research team interviewed hundreds. We conducted hundreds of interviews, 220, some in the refugee camps in Chad, but also in neighboring Uganda. We did some interviews by the phone, and we saw the circumstances that people in Adre in eastern Chad are living in. They have very limited access to food, water, basic necessities, schooling for kids, and also reproductive health care, because sexual violence was a key tool of the Rapid Support Forces campaign against the Masalit community. It was used as a weapon of war against Masalit women by these Rapid Support Forces fighters. And then when they fled across the border, they found themselves unable to get the kind of care that you would hope women who had survived rape would have access to. And now we're months after those assaults, and so we're beginning to, of course, hear about children born of rape, about the stigma associated for women, and the situation in Chad, of course, extremely dire, but the situation inside Darfur even more dire, because humanitarian groups are not able to deliver aid and assistance and food. And in fact, the experts on famine projections have said that people living in parts of West Darfur are at risk of really serious food insecurity that could rise to the level of famine in the coming weeks.
Akshaya, Kumar, thank you so much for your time and for shedding light on this important story.
Now, thank you for having